Hello, you. It's me. And there have been so many people talking about Corey Feldman that even I was like, yeah, I know Corey Feldman kind of. He did some movies, whatever. I've never really thought anything of him or about him. I didn't really care until he started this big resurgence of people talking about him again after being on some tour with, I think it was Limp Bizkit. And then I kind of did a deep dive into Corey Feldman. And he's a disgusting degenerate. He is the epitome of what people want to get away when they say they want to get away from Hollywood. He is Hollywood, and not the good Hollywood, not the Hollywood with regular people doing regular things or creative artists working hard to hone in on their crafts and try to make a living. No. He's a disgusting degenerate. And you might ask, why? Why would you say something so harsh about him? Listen to the read. I mean, he's kind of a has-been, and he's a hack, and not much of a musician, but he's, created this crazy music career out of nothing. First off, I want to say, if you ever notice his clothing, his wardrobe, and how he dances, he emulates a lot of what Michael Jackson used to do, except that, of course, Michael Jackson harmed him, if you know what I mean, wink, wink. So why would you copy somebody who harmed you? That's the first thing. I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I would like to establish the fact that Corey Feldman is a big liar. He's a horrible human being. And you can see this most clearly in the show The Two Coreys. Now, starting back just a little bit, his tour that I mentioned that he's on or was on this year, there have been rumors by all of the ladies in the band, as well as other band members, as well as the bus driver, stating that the only thing Corey does is sit around doing drugs, apparently having sex, and then go up on stage, sing, and then come back, doesn't help with anything, doesn't do anything else, and he is a nightmare. The bus stank to high heaven because he had a couple dogs in there that he didn't take care of. He yelled at the other bandmates that they should be taking care of him. And this is all, of course, rumor, but it was by his band manager or musical director. I'm not sure her title, but she made a whole video on it. It's like an hour long. And the bus driver, who his name escapes me, forgive me. I kind of did this last minute, but there's a whole video, like an hour and a half, of the bus driver talking about how horrendous Corey Feldman is, okay, and doing lots of drugs, and that's important because when Feldman did his show with Haim, Corey Haim, I remember seeing that show when it was on, and I didn't watch all of it because I found it kind of upsetting, because Feldman, and I will refer to him as Feldman because they're both named Corey, Feldman and his wife Susie were painting the picture of Haim as being a drug addict loser who has nothing in his life. And Feldman and Susie, they have a beautiful life, a beautiful home, one little kid who I don't think they put their son on the show, but it was known that he had a son with Susie. So they painted him out to be the biggest loser on the face of this earth. And of course, I haven't followed either of them. So I just kind of went on for face value, like, oh, that's really sad, because Haim is such an amazingly talented actor. Just amazing actor. Rumor mill, I always heard he was a good guy, he was a nice guy. So for him to go down that path, I thought was really sad. And at the end of it, Feldman made it look like Haim was way on drugs, on alcohol, wasted all the time, and was yelling out of him out of that drug addict rage. But then I took another look at it, and I realized Feldman set Haim up. Now, I don't know a lot about Haim except for what he said himself. And what he said himself was that he was happy, he was taking care of his mother, who I think might have been sick, I don't know. I know Haim was very sick. He was a drug addict, and he was completely sober during the show. He had a lot of health issues, he said, that were a result of a lot of the drugs that he did. It was his fault. But he was taking prescribed medication just to keep him alive. He was very sick. And Haim didn't even want to do the show. Feldman convinced him he should. But if you watch the last episode, that's where everything comes out. And I was shocked, because I didn't see the last episode when it was airing originally. Like I said, I really wasn't into it. But I was shocked. Haim stated very clearly. We all know that he and Feldman were sexually abused, were raped. Feldman has tried to keep that so secret that he wouldn't tell anyone about it. But Haim wasn't secret about it. He might have not said the name, but he definitely said when it happened, how old he was when it happened. He was like 13, 14 years old. And guess who set him up? Feldman. Feldman, who knew this person and knew that this person was a deviant and would harm somebody. Feldman took Haim to him. And Feldman knew what was happening to Haim, and Feldman did nothing. He didn't try to stop it, he didn't try to save it, nor did he apologize for it. And what was Feldman's answer to that? Well, dude, it happened to me too. We were both sexualized. We both were sexually abused. That was his answer. Not, Haim, I'm so sorry. I was under the influence of this person, and it was all my fault, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that this happened to you, to me. I'm so sorry that this happened at all. It's a horrible thing. No. Corey Feldman couldn't take any responsibility for his part in it, for him bringing Haim to the abuser and then leaving him there, leaving them alone to get abused. If you don't think that's sick as fuck, what's wrong with you? And then the whole show painting Haim as this drug addict who's continuing to use drugs and abuse himself, when Haim said very clearly, I have to take prescribed medications to stay alive. And he said at that ending episode that he can't take this anymore. It's harming his mental well-being as well as his physical well-being, because he had, I believe it was some kind of a heart condition. And with Feldman getting Haim all amped up and upset because of all the baloney that he was spewing and lying about, it wasn't good for his health. I mean, if you have a bad heart and somebody yells and screams at you and says lies to you that you know are outright lies, you'd get upset and make your blood boil. Well, that's what was happening with Haim. He couldn't take that. His health was bad. And Feldman take no consideration for that. And at the end of the show, they're yelling at each other back and forth. And Feldman's wife, Susie, was also doing that. And when they got divorced, I believe she either wrote a letter, maybe an email, I can't remember. But, and this can be considered hearsay if you want to consider it that. But Susie herself said that her and Feldman were on drugs the whole time. They were partying the whole time. And she felt so disgusted with herself that she was so terrible to Haim. And this, of course, was after he passed away. And again, could all be hearsay, although there were some channels who showed proof of this. But holy cow, I didn't realize how manipulative and disgusting Corey Feldman was. And he was and is. He's still partying. That's why that was important. He's not only was he still doing drugs and drinking during the filming of the two Coreys, but Feldman hasn't, I don't think, ever stopped. He claims to be sober. Apparently, according to band members, etc., he is still partying. He's still doing the quote-unquote Hollywood scene. And let me just say, I lived in Hollywood for many years. And there was two kinds of Hollywood. There was the assholes who would take everything they could from you and then drop you like a potato. And then there were just the regular people who are out there working hard, doing what they do. Corey, as I said in the beginning, is the first. Hollywood isn't like that. Hollywood that I know was good people, hardworking people, lots of artists. Yes, lots of people who worked in the business. Yes, but they weren't like that. They weren't infected with that disgusting disease that makes people complete and total degenerates. And we're seeing it. It wasn't just with that high-profile guy that Oprah was good friends with. Although, thank God he's in prison or was in prison. It wasn't just the higher-ups. It's people that are greedy to be famous. And a lot of people will do a lot of disgusting, degenerate things to be famous. Now, Corey Feldman had his foot through the door already because his father was very famous, a very famous musician himself. So Corey Feldman had it in from the beginning. He started acting at a young age. I remember him being in a show called Alice, where he was one of the orphans, and I believe one of the only ones that really talked. But I digress. That doesn't matter. Getting your foot through the door doesn't mean anything. It's a nice up to have, but I'm not saying that Corey Feldman is a bad actor. I have always known of him. I've seen his movies. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm saying he's a bad person. And poor Corey Haim, sorry. I'm getting upset and emotional now because he didn't deserve that. Corey Feldman doesn't deserve to be laughed at. He deserves nothing. And he should get nothing. Unless, of course, Mr. Medicare wants to do a video on him. That I would listen to, because Mr. Medicare is the boss. He's amazing. But it just makes me sick that we lose Corey Haim. And what do we have left? a disgusting degenerate Corey Feldman. I can't laugh at him because he is so gross. I can't. He just infuriates me. He's such a horrible person. And I hope if you question what I say that you go investigate and you go see for yourself. Because he is an awful human being, should never be celebrated. And I'm shocked that anybody gives him any attention. But to be fair, I didn't know until recently. Maybe they don't know either. His famous friends, they have their own lives to live. And maybe they don't keep up with this stuff. And that could absolutely be. Or they're just part of the degenerate part of Hollywood. Either way. But anyway, thank you for listening. And yeah, that's all I got to say.